up in the morning with the dawn. My mind is damp and foggy as the dew. I look across the fields to find that flowers grow when there are mine, and all the world is shining bright and new. So come and see the red clay of my island, that bursts in bloom before it's even spring. The days are warm, the nights are cool, you'll find there's fish in every pool, and you can hear 1,000 robins sing. This is my island, and it's good for love. It's good for anyone you'd care to bring. This is my island, Prince Edward Island. It's good for love and every growing thing. Sitting on my doorstep in the twilight, this is where I know I want to be. I take my rest at the end of the day, with moonlight splashing on the bay, as I gaze across the headlands to the sea. From afar I hear the waves a-pounding, crashing and then joying on the shore. Memories of the olden days when schooners sailed in quiet bays remind me I won't leave here anymore. 'Cause this is my island, and it's good for love. It's good for anyone you'd care to bring. This is my island, Prince Edward Island. It's good for love and every growing thing. This is my island, and it's good for love. It's good for anyone you'd care to bring. This is my island, Prince Edward Island. It's good for love and every growing thing. It's good for love and every growing thing.
never had.
my dad being from Sweden. My grandfather came to this country from the old country, from Stockholm, Sweden. He landed in Boston, which he found not to his liking because it contained far too many Irish for him. And so, heeding Horace Greeley's imprecation, he headed west, young man, west, 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 all the way across the prairies to Minnesota. Fetched up in Minnesota, and there at the train station in Minneapolis, he met up with a fellow countryman named Carl, and over a couple of herring sandwiches, the two men decided where they would go next. Well, Carl had heard about this place to the north. This place of amazing opportunity, this place of marvelous vistas, this place of wonderful, wonderful fortune for everyone, with the magical, mystical, almost unpronounceable name, Saskatchewan. Paradise, said Carl. Well, that sounded pretty good to my grandfather, so he got on the train. They headed north, across the corner of Minnesota, the corner of North Dakota, until they fetched up at the Saskatchewan border, at which point my grandfather looked out the window, and then he looked doubtfully back at Carl. He said, "Paradise is flatter than I thought." But nothing daunted, the two men stayed on the train, only getting separated in Regina when Carl was lured away by the lights of the big city. But for his part, my grandfather stayed on the train, heading north, north, all the way to Saskatoon, where he finally got off because he feared if he didn't, there might not be a place to disembark. And so he set about looking for work. And it was, it was late August, early September of the year, and the only work to be found, especially for an immigrant with very little English, was to help in the harvesting of the grain crops around. Now this was, as I say, back around the turn of the last century, so it wasn't this modern, giant machinery mowing through the grain crops. No, this was all done with thrashers, cutting down the grain and thrashing it out by hand. It was back-breaking work in the hot sun, made palatable only by teasing the farmers' daughters as the three girls brought them water and field lunches during the course of the day, and flirting with them a little bit. My grandfather found that if he was a fairly adept flirt, he could earn himself an extra slice of cheese or an extra pickle over lunch. Well, for their part, the girls gave it as good as they got it. They would tease the men, and they would particularly tease my grandfather for his thick Swedish accent, those rolling intonations. Oh, here comes Mr. Horty, Morty, Gorty, Morty, Gorty. One girl, the middle daughter, a saucy girl of about 14, she was particularly hard on him. He would come up and begin to talk to her, and she would go, "Oh, stop! That is a vulgar, vulgar accent, and I won't hear it. I won't. From now on, if you want one slice of cheese, you tap my hand once, and if you want 2 slices of cheese, you tap my hand twice." My grandfather thought for a second, then winked at her and tapped her hand 3 times. She said, "Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. That's a secret signal. If you tap my hand 3 times, it means I love you. 1, 2, 3, I love you." "Oh," said my grandfather. "Now, will that get me more cheese?" Well, after a while, the harvest was in, and my grandfather took up some work as an apprentice in a bakery in Saskatoon. He got an apartment over the bakery, but he found that he missed the companionship of his good friend, the farmer, and the family. And so of an evening, he would walk out to the farm, which was just outside the outskirts of the city. He would walk out there, and he would spend some time with them. Sometimes he would go for supper, but more often it was just for tea and conversation. The family taught him how to read and write English. And at the end of every evening, as he was leaving, he would say goodbye to his friend, the farmer, and say goodbye to his wife and the other kids. But as he passed by that middle daughter, he would tap her hand 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Well, I bet you can all see where this is going. They were married. They were married a year or 2 later. Now she had attained the age of 16. He was 31, I believe. And so nowadays that seems remarkable, but you remember there was different times. Back then they were just another couple of newlyweds. They took up residence over the bakery and began to live their lives there. And for the rest of their lives, she never once heard him tell her that he loved her. She knew. 1, 2,